today we will be starting with another lesson, your history lesson 3, because it has continuation of the second lesson. Fine, children, it has the continuation of the second lesson because classwork I will tell you. Okay, listen, children. Yes, thank you for reminding me. Classwork is you need not write the objectives in the classwork. Fine, you need not write the objectives in the classwork. Objectives you can do it in the book itself. The answers are given to you, so you can do it in the book. All the question answers alone, you know very well how to write the classwork while starting the lesson. Within the 3 lines, you have to draw the line, write the heading of the lesson. Then below that, you have to continue the question answers, whatever the headings are given. So what you have to do, you have to write the question answers like that. Only 2 lessons have completed, no? So whenever you find time, you start writing your classwork. Fine. So you need not write any objectives which is already there in the book. Write the answers for the objectives given in the book. You have to write short answer, detailed answer. If captions are given, you have to do the caption. Okay, in future, that is for the further lessons, you will be getting the map. So for that map, if you have any map for the lesson, then you have to do the map also. It's not done now, so you need not worry about the map. Write only the question answers. Fine, that whenever you find time, you try to do it. If you cannot do it during the school days of Monday to Friday, do it on Saturday, Sunday. Then you won't have any disturbances. Fine. So let us start now with the third lesson. I just want to tell you this is a continuation of the second lesson, we can say, or we can say that the continuation of the story. Okay, so already we have seen about the establishment of British power in India. This is your third lesson, rural life and society. Okay, rural life and society. How the British Empire came to India through the new sea route only. Then after they came to India, they started expanding their new territories. So what happened? After that, they started setting up their factories in many places, and due to that, they were able to expand their territories all over India. And here at that time, we had lot of villages because we know very well that at that time many people depend on agriculture. So many rural people were there, many rural societies were there at the time. And there also these British people interfered. There also the British people interfered. Okay, so that is why we are going to see in this lesson rural life and society. Let us see how the Britishers took the control over the rural life and changed the life of the people. So here we know that after Britishers gained control over a large part of India, they wanted to earn more and more. They wanted to earn more and more. That is called what? Revenue. Revenue means what? They wanted to earn more. So, in order to get more revenue, they were thinking what to do. Okay? Because they were expanding their empire, they had lot of troops as soldiers, sepoys, and a lot of officials were okay appointed in various places. For them, they need to pay the salary. For the soldiers, they need to pay the salary. For all these expenses, they wanted to have lot of money. Okay, so that is what is given here to meet its growing expenses. They were in need of lot of revenue. So they redefined the land rights and changed the life of the people. Now, so long people were enjoying their own rights, they had their own land and they were doing agriculture in their land. But now they wanted to take the control over the land because they thought that time itself by taxing the land they can earn lot of money. So they wanted to change the policies of the land, the rules of the land, law of the land. Let us see what kind of changes they have done. Okay, so they have introduced different land revenue policies. Okay, they have introduced different land revenue policies. So let us see here. You can see there are three types of land revenue system: permanent settlement, royalty system, mahalwari system. Okay, permanent settlement, royalty system, and mahalwari system. They introduced the permanent settlement in Bihar, Bengal, and Orissa. They introduced the royalty system in South Indian regions, and they introduced mahalwari system in northwest regions. So you can see here. Here you can see Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, this place. Okay, South Indian regions are here, the down portion here. Okay, northwest regions are here. That is what you can see here, the different color boxes with the different circles to match, and tells you clearly. So these are the three things you should know: permanent settlement, royalty system, mahalwari system. Okay, these are the three types of land revenue systems they introduced in India. Why three types? Britishers only going to control over the places, all the places in India. Why three types of system they introduced? Because the rulers of that places were totally different. Some were aggressive, some were like they are not fit to be the king in some of the places. So easily they were under the control of the Britishers. So many reasons were behind this for the introduction of three types of land revenue system. Okay, so this is what I said. Permanent settlement. Here, this is Bombay and Madras, especially royalty settlement. And here, Punjab and Uttar Pradesh, that is a northwestern region, Mahalwari settlement. So who introduced the permanent settlement? So one by one we are going to see what is permanent, what is Mahalwari, what is royalty. This permanent settlement was introduced by Lord Cornwallis. See why Lord is used there. We say Raja, okay, Maharaja. We say no, Raja means king, Maharaja means emperor. In the same way, they used to keep a word before their name called Lord. Lord, Lord. Okay, so that is why we used to say Lord Cornwallis, Lord William Bentinck. The Britishers alone kept their name like that. Okay, so who introduced permanent settlement? Was introduced by Lord Cornwallis. He is only Lord Cornwallis. Okay, so at that time, Mughal emperor granted the English East India Company the Diwani of Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. That we have learnt in the second lesson itself. Who Mughal emperor granted the EEIC the Diwani of Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. Okay, so EEIC started collecting their taxes, that is, the revenue in the form of taxes, in the year 1765. Because of this Diwani rights, they started collecting the taxes from these places. Which are the places? Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. Still, they are in need of huge revenue. So, the first revenue settlement was introduced in Bengal and Bihar by Lord Cornwallis in 1793. They started collecting revenue in 1765. Still, they are in need of more money. So, introduced a settlement act in 1793. That is called what? Permanent settlement. Which are the places? Bengal and Bihar. Okay, children. Okay, here if you see, the British government is at the top level now. For all the land, British government only is the controller. Next is zamindars, next peasants. This is how zamindari system also were introduced. Okay, so let us see the features of the permanent settlement. What are all the features of the permanent settlement? So here, zamindars are the landowners. Who are the landowners? Zamindars became the landowners. The peasants became the tenants. Tenants means, like we know very well, who all are called tenants. Nowadays, if we say we are tenant means we do vadahiki porudu. That is, they have to pay the rent for the land. Okay, and the tax amount was permanently fixed, whether they produce any crop or not, whether they earn profit or not, whether the farmer is in good condition or poor condition, they never bother about anything. It is a permanent one. It is permanently fixed for the zamindars. First, it is permanently fixed for the zamindars. Okay, so the zamindars has to pay the tax amount to the Britishers. Okay, yes, so these Britishers did not have direct connection with the peasants. This is the trick. They had connection with only zamindars. Okay, so the tax amount was not fixed for the peasants, which has to be paid to the zamindars. Okay, so they said that the tax amount was fixed permanently for the zamindars, but they did not tell what the peasants had to pay for the zamindars. It was not fixed at all at that time. So, using this situation, the zamindars were collecting lot of taxes from the peasants. Understood? So here you can see, so regular flow of revenue to meet their administrative and military expenses they were able to get, because now zamindar who belong to India only, now they are able to collect the taxes from the farmers, poor peasants or whatever their condition, they never bother about it. They collected the money from the peasants and they returned back to the, okay, the Britishers, English East India Company. So there was a regular flow of revenue to meet their administrative and military expenses. And not only that, they got their revenue to increase the agricultural production and thereby increase the revenue to the EEIC. And here to create a class of allies by recognizing zamindars as the owners of land. To create a class of allies means like they did not interfere into India's land directly, because they know very well if they directly enter into any land and start collecting the taxes, it will become a problem. So they made a trick to made zamindars as the owner of the land, and then they collected the revenues. Okay, now here what are the drawbacks of the permanent settlement? So what are the drawbacks means demerits, disadvantages. Since the tax amount was not fixed by the EEIC, that's what I said, more tax amount was extracted and zamindars were left with more money after they pay to the EEIC. For example, if the EEIC fixed an amount like we can say that I'm talking about the current day money. If 1 lakh rupees has to be paid every month to the EEIC, but this zamindar is in a position to collect any amount of taxes from the, okay, the peasants. So he would have collected more amount. He may have now 2 lakhs or 2.5 lakhs in his hand. How much he has to pay? Only 1 lakh he has to pay. After paying that 1 lakh rupees to the EEIC, now he is left with 1.5 lakhs rupees extra. So who is earning lot and lot of money? Zamindars. Why this problem? Because the tax amounts are not fixed to the, okay, peasants. That is why zamindars were able to collect lot of money, and after paying the amount to the EEIC, he is left with a lot of money. So here the peasants were often forced to take loans from money lenders. In order to pay the taxes, some poor peasants were not able to pay the taxes. So no other go, they were forced to borrow money from the money lenders. Borrow money from the money lenders. So here zamindars and the peasants had to pay a very high revenue to the British, irrespective of the failure of the crops. Okay, so here this is another point. Whatever it is, the Britishers fixed an amount. Okay, so zamindars had to collect the amount and they had to pay it, but it was a high amount. It was a high amount. Even though if it is a crop failure season, the peasants had to give and in turn zamindars had to pay the amount to the Britishers. In between, what happened if the okay if the peasants are not able to repay the borrowed money, okay, their house, their land, if they have some small pieces of land, everything was taken away by the money lenders or whoever gave the money to them. So these kind of situations happened there. So these are all the demerits of the permanent settlement. So what is permanent settlement? Britishers or the EEIC fixed a tax amount to the zamindars, but there was not a fixed amount for the peasants. So this one you should know. Let us see the next one. So if zamindars failed to pay the taxes on time, their lands were taken away by the Britishers, because the Britishers made the zamindars as the owner of the land. Okay, so whose land will be taken away now? If the zamindars are not paying the taxes, their lands will be taken away by the Britishers. Okay, so zamindars made no investment in the land to increase the productivity. Because of this reason, anyhow, if they are not going to repay the amount or pay the taxes to the Britishers, their lands would be taken away. So, because of this reason, they did not do any kind of investment on their land, any kind of investment on the land, like to buying the manure, good manure, or to increase the irrigational facility, or to increase the good quality of seeds, nothing. Okay, they did not put money on anything. They did not spend any money for their land. Okay, so what happened? This leads to the introduction of Mahalwari and Roytwari system. Okay, this leads to the introduction of Mahalwari and Roytwari system. So let us see to that now. So why? First of all, they introduced permanent settlement. Zamindar are not interested in increasing the productivity, and they are not interested in spending any money for the land given to them. So because of that only, new land settlements were introduced by the Britishers. So the zamindars of South and Southwestern India were unaware of the land revenue system. So this is another reason. Southern part of India, zamindars, they said totally, we don't know what kind of land system you introduced. Okay, we are not at all aware of your land system, so we cannot pay any money. And the other side, since the tax is fixed, the company had been unable to take advantage of the increase in agricultural productivity. That's what I said. Zamindars were enjoying the extra amount of money. Okay, since they have fixed the amount what they had to pay, they were not able to enjoy the extra money. Okay, suppose in case if the crop production is more and they are able to get, zamindars are able to get more revenue, but the Britishers couldn't get that extra money. They are not able to enjoy that extra money. One side, South Indian zamindars told that we are just totally unaware of all your land revenue settlements, so we cannot pay the money. The other side, okay, since the money is fixed, the revenues are fixed, they couldn't enjoy the extra money. Due to these reasons, the other two systems were introduced. So let us see the Wright-Torrey system. This Wright-Torrey system was introduced by Thomas Munro. He is only Thomas Munro in the year 1820. Wright means cultivator. Whoever is doing the cultivation, they are called as what? Cultivator. Okay, so this is Wright-Torrey system introduced by Thomas Munro in the year 1820. Okay, so this system was practiced in South India. Where? South India, especially that Madras, okay, and around that region. And land revenue was directly collected from the cultivators. So Royat means cultivator. So from that we have to understand that the revenues were directly collected from the cultivators. This is called what? Right-Wari system. Because zamindars told that they are totally unaware of the system. That is why it is being done like this. Okay, so here the land holdings of the cultivators were measured. For that, what did they do? We know very well that every farmer had their own land. Okay, they were only called as cultivators. So their lands were measured by the Britishers. They came to each and every farmer, every cultivator, and their lands were measured. Then, according to the size of the land, the revenue was fixed. According to the size of the land, the revenue was fixed, and the revenue was collected annually. That is, once in a year, they come and collect the revenues. Okay, on the basis of the cultivation done on the land. So their land was measured and it was recorded in the note, whatever register they had, and based on the register, they used to come and collect the revenue from the cultivators. Okay, this is called what? Royalty system. What are the demerits? That is disadvantages. The tax was very high as 55% of the total produce. Produce, you should not say it as produce. Produce means the product. Okay, மொத்த உற்பத்தியில 55% they had to pay. That means if you earn 100 rupees, you have to pay 55 rupees to the Britishers. Okay, you have to, if they earn 100 sacks of rice, means they had to pay 55 sacks of rice to the Britishers. So it is more than half. It is more than half. And it was collected very rigidly even in the event of a crop failure. Same way, they did not bother about crop failure or any natural calamity. Whatever it is, they didn't bother. According to the size of the land, they have fixed an amount to the farmer, that is cultivator, and they had to pay that money to the EEIC persons, that is the Britishers, every year. And it is 55 percentage. Okay, so let us see the Mahalwari system. Okay, British Empire in India from 1757 to 1857. Let us see the Mahalwari settlement. What is Mahalwari settlement? It was introduced in western Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, and parts of Madhya Pradesh in 1822. Okay, the land was owned by a group of villages called Mahal. Now, the land, one big piece of land was owned by a group of villages. So that group of villages called what? Mahal. Okay, and for that a headman was appointed, Talaivar. Okay, was appointed for each Mahal to collect revenues. And what did the Britishers do? Every year, periodically, they revised the amount to be paid to them. They changed that amount to be paid to them, the revenue to be paid to them, they changed periodically under the Mahalwari system. Okay, so due to these, first they introduced permanent settlement, then their Royalty system, Mahalwari system. Because of all these land revenue systems, peasant revolt, peasant movement, okay, started in all parts of India. Peasant movement started in all parts of India. I hope that you have understood. And this movement started in India from 1917 to 1947. Till we got independence, this movement was there. When it was started? 1917. Okay, children, hope you have understood. If you have any doubt, you can ask me now. The three settlements. System, children, this lesson is subjective lesson. You need not learn the question answer, because as we do it in the school, some lessons are okay taken for objectives. So you will be getting only Google form for this lesson. So you won't be having any question answer for this lesson. Only the book back exercises, objectives you have to learn. and a few more extra objectives I will give you. That alone you can note it down. Then you have to do the Google Forms for the activity. That's it. So what I'm trying to say is you have lot of lessons in 8th standard. All the lessons are not question answer lesson. Some lessons are given as objectives. Okay. Some lessons are given as question answers. That alone you have to understand. So you can see here how the people gathered for the peasant revolt or peasant movement. This is how they discussed for their meetings. Okay. So here the new administrative and land revenue policies of the British brought far-reaching changes in the structure of the rural life and society, because many farmers lost their land in order to pay their tax amount or whatever it is. They lost their land to the zamindars, they lost their land to the Britishers. So this is how situations happened. Okay, so totally economic situation gone down for the Indians, but the economic situation risen up for the Britishers. Yes, so there are many things happen. I will tell you now. Then tomorrow or in the next class, we will continue about what kind of strikes or what kind of revolt happened. Indigo cultivator strike, Pabna Agrarian League, Deccan Right, Champaran Satyagraha, Kheda peasant struggle, Bardoli movement in Gujarat, Mopla rebellion in Malabar, peasant revolt in Telangana, Thebaja movement in Bengal, Kisan Sabha movement, Eka movement. So these kind of movements were started by the different groups of people in different part of the country, against the Britishers. So all these are the peasant group only. That is why we call it as peasant revolt or peasant movement.